Ra. Welcome back to another episode of Naked Church. I am your minister, Dr. Minister Vermont Prince for the Om Institute, Church of Christ Consciousness for Worldwide Hope. And I'm going to tell you that it's all about the supreme holiness of the female, rooted in the sacred truth of her sexuality. She holy. Are you S.E.X 33? Get help now. If you are, it's very powerful imagery right there. Someone locked in a cage. Half of her brain is a cage. Is your thinking trapped in a cage? Or your thoughts? You might not think so, but you'd be surprised. If you still have hang-ups about sexuality, you're in a cage. That's the ultimate cage. That's what S.E.X 33 is all about. Watch my other videos, S.E.X, MAGIK, and the Flat Earth Simulation. Flat Earth Matrix. And I tell you about the last two videos on this. I tell you about what S.E.X 33 is. And I explain to y'all clearly that it's about your sexual energy being suppressed. Now, I'm going to do this because I said I was going to do it in other videos. So I guess I'll just do it right now. I'll try to back it up a little bit. All right. So, as I was saying, people are using things like tarot. First of all, when you look at the so-called conscious world or the conscious community, not the black conscious community, just all this consciousness in itself, you notice that you see a lot of people doing the same old things. Let's look at the women, for example. Mostly all the women that are claiming to be into consciousness are all into astrology, tarot cards, um, into like using the vegan diet, the alkaline drink water, and a lot of them are into the yoga. They believe in the fasting. They really big on, a lot of them are really big on the nature. That tells me right there, if all of these women get into this and suddenly they're all, no, you've yet to really see anybody step outside and say, I also believe this, and this is a big part of my belief system, and present it, and it's something that none of the other women are into. You rarely see somebody else. And then a lot of them will come across with the Egyptian thing. A lot of them come from the thing of Egypt. My thing is, there's other great civilizations all greater than Egypt. Egypt is just known because they left behind a lot of evidence, whereas other people did too, but it's hard to interpret it because we're not on that frequency yet. Or a lot of people are not. Okay, so let's look at it like this. You have the people of Sumer or Sumer. They have a vast history that goes way back. Powerful information, powerful stuff, way more than Egypt. You have in the Sumer, the Sumerians. We know about the Sumerian text. That's like really big. The Dogon tribe, Series A, Series B, powerful information. Not just that, it's a lot more to them. That the people of the Mayans, the Aztecs, a lot of people with some really deep history, really deep science and culture, not just Egypt. So why don't everybody run to Egypt? Because that's who everybody else runs to. People are really in a gang or like one big cult. The fact that nobody has found any information outside of what everybody else has already found shows that they're just regurgitating information. They don't really want relevant information. They just want to fit in. So they feel like I'm doing what everybody else is doing because that's what there is to do. You're still in that cage that you see right there. This is you in the cage. If you're tapping into consciousness, you can't tell me all consciousness stops at veganism, alkaline water, some crystals from the earth, fasting, a little meditation, walking around with no shoes or scantily cloth, and doing some affirmations, what they call shadow work, looking into your personality traits and fixing it in astrology, and maybe some tarot cards and stuff like that. You tell me that's all consciousness? That's it? That's like saying it's a handbook. So my thing is, most of that stuff is dealing with a form of psychology. There's no way in the world psychology could be the foundation of consciousness. So that means something else is the foundation. And a lot of females, mostly females, I've come across a lot of guys like that too, but more females. When you talk to these conscious people about sexuality, they're very, very imprisoned within their thought process of sexuality. They really think how the system taught them to think. And my thing is, if you were really conscious, the thing about consciousness is it opens you up to feel truth. If you're walking down the street and someone said something like, why is that there? And you look, you be like, yeah, why is that there? When you're into consciousness, the truth makes you think. When someone comes along like me and tells you, sex is the gateway to source, and you're like, no, that's you reacting out of fear because you're in a cage, and I'm offering to open the door and let you out, and you like, I'm institutionalized. I don't want to be out of this cage. It seems like I'm miserable in this cage, but I'm really more miserable out than in. That's the whole thing. A lot of people that's into consciousness are only into it in the way that everyone else. My thing is, how you think there's a whole religion of tantra and a whole book of Kama Sutra based on sexuality if sex is not important? People say, "Oh, it's your lowest chakra. That's your sacral chakra." People are trapped in a sacral chakra. They can't rise how higher. I hear people saying this. My whole thing to them is this: how do you know they're not rising higher? Higher. I keep saying higher. How do you know they're not rising higher? Because they keep talking about sex. If that's your root center, it's called your root, your foundation. That's a whole nother video when I'm gonna do the thing that Jesus said to Peter about being a cornerstone. That's a whole science in that. Because a slang term for Peter is penis, right? And if you go into the whole thing about Peter, you break it down, the word Peter, Petra, rock, that's a whole nother thing, that we can go into. But all that involves sexuality. So my whole thing becomes to y'all, when you watching people that say they're into consciousness, they're really not into consciousness because they're scared to death of sex. You cannot be into consciousness and be scared to death of sex. And by scared to death, I don't mean that they're not never having sex. There are people that's having sex 3, 4, 5 times a day that's still scared of it. The reason why they're scared of it because people don't want to hear about the spirituality of it. When they think of spirituality of it, they think, oh, you shouldn't put it in the anus. You know what? You shouldn't be pulling her hair and smacking her and saying that. They think about that as that's non-spiritual. They not thinking about the fact that you don't understand what you're doing is non-spiritual. You're just participating in a ritual with a bunch of limitations and thinking it's thinking it's spiritual. There's nothing spiritual about a ritual with a bunch of guidelines on it. Most people that are into consciousness only practice sexuality with a bunch of guidelines. That's something that really needs to be understood. A lot of them only practice sex with a bunch of guidelines on it. And a bunch of that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. In reality, none of that is wrong. It's just not what this not a field. It's not your way of expressing. Because first of all, let me explain something real quick. This might not even be for that video, but I'm gonna hit it real quick. I'm gonna hit this real quick. No pun intended. Everything that you do in sexuality is an expression of a code that one needs to unlock. We are in a virtual reality time loop simulation program. This is not the first version of that program. In there have been countless other versions that have failed. And it failed because we didn't unlock our sexuality and take it into the future and explore it for what it is and the power that comes out of it. Just like you can power a city with electricity, you can power a world with sexual energy. That's what Tesla was talking about, free energy. That's really what the 369 code is all about. If you really want to get into the science of the 369 code, that's what it was all about. Free energy. That's it. But I'm gonna get off on that and come back to this real quick, and then get back to the real topic. And the other version, and the other versions of the program, we have experiences. So the things that we do in this the things that we do in this version of this program, especially sexually, are really reflective of other things that have happened. I'm gonna give you an example in case you know it's not making sense to you. Um, I'm gonna try to give an example that doesn't really piss people off more than I already be pissing people off. Um, let's just say you were a in another simulation that, first of all the simulations that failed already are still working. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's still running. In this matrix, everything that's created has to keep working. It's still running. So in this is just the latest version of that. So it's like when you get your new iPhone, your old iPhone still can work. You transfer your number, it's you can transfer your number back, or somebody else can put a new number on. It's still working. It's just not active. This is active, the one you got now. So this version that we're in is active. The other versions are still happening. So we still tap into those versions of the matrix in what we call dreams, which we call remembrances, because all you're doing is remembering a so-called other life. This is what people talk about, my past life and my future life and my other life. That's just really versions of the matrix you tapped into. Like people be like, I went to the future, I did this, I did that. All you did was experience a different version of the future. I mean, different version of this matrix. There are versions that are like so different that it seems like it has to be the future. Or like you like, I don't even know what this is. But anyway, so let's just say you were um with this person and y'all was trying to escape from somewhere, whatever the situation was, slavery, whatever it was, y'all trying to escape from this situation of oppression, right? And I'm just give you an example, and it's a female and a guy, and there's a little window that you can look to see whoever your oppressor or whoever the person is trying to keep you from escaping, or a guard or whoever, right? So let's just say, or let's make it easier. You were a prisoner. There's a female that's a guard. Boom. She comes and she wants, and y'all having sex. Maybe she be like, you have to do it from the back because I need to like lean out the cell and look to make sure nobody's coming and they don't catch us. So she leans over. Okay, so she's like, pull her pants down. You get it from the back. She's leaning over. She's looking. She's doing a lookout. And this is the way y'all always do it. Maybe she helped you escape, or maybe she helped you get through that time. Maybe you never escaped, but that was how y'all did it. So in this version of the Matrix, you know, she before she was just a guard in the prison or whatever she was, or maybe y'all worked in a store together and y'all used to do that so she could like lean out and look out, make sure the boss ain't coming to catch y'all or whatever. So in this version of the Matrix, you always want to do it from the back, and you don't know why, or you want to pull her hair or something like that. Maybe in that Matrix one time she was looking and you saw somebody coming, you grabbed her hair and you janked her back in or something like that. Boom. In this version, you pulling her hair, you think it's just a sexual fetish, but it's really not a fetish. It's really a reminder of something that happened from another Matrix, and it's a carryover. Our personalities now are carryovers of all those other versions, and we're the sum total of those other versions. So we need to tap into that and figure that thing out. That's what I was saying. But when you're dealing with the people with all this consciousness, and we're not talking about black people, white people, Asian people, we're talking about people. When you deal with this consciousness, they all follow the same exact philosophies. They all probably, you don't see somebody come along and say, yo, I want to learn about divination, throwing bones, casting bones or rocks, or like nobody wants to be a little different. Like all this research I've done, and nobody stumbled upon the Yi Jing and say, yo, I follow the Yi Jing, with the coins and all that. Nobody. All of y'all just want to follow the same thing that the other people want to follow. This is how you know that people are not dealing with actual consciousness. If you're not dealing with your sexual sex or sexuality as your root, is your because it's your root chakra. So if it's not the root of all of your metaphysical teachings and the things that you follow, then you're not on the right path. Whatever building you're building is not on a good foundation, and it will be swept away. Just so you know. So when you start getting into these people and you see all their IG and their Facebook and it's nothing about sex on there, that's not somebody that's really into it. I'm not saying they can't give you good information. They can give you some good information. They can lead you down, but they're gonna give you standard system information. This is most consciousness now is just a synthetic version of the real thing. Sexuality is organic. All this other stuff is all that other stuff we created as schools to hide from the oppressors. We created the tarot cards to hide sexual positions. The tarot cards are different forms of the Kama Sutra. And we did that to hide so that the oppressor didn't know what we was talking about. They would look at it and be like, oh, this is some mumble jumble nonsense. That's it. The same thing with a lot of other things. It's just like meditation. Meditation is not about sitting there and clearing the mind. Meditation is about us not assimilating. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word offhand, but it's the meditation is about enacting or reenacting the orgasmic state, the real one. After you get past that electricity of I'm coming, and then when you get that peaceful state, that's meditation. The physical meditation, when you sit there and you're doing all you doing is doing a mock version of the real thing. The same thing when you're doing yoga. All you're doing is different Kama Sutra positions. You're not putting yourself in positions to channel your energy and stuff that they're telling you. You believe that because they told you that. All you're doing is doing a mock version of the Kama Sutra. And the Kama Sutra is a mock version of how you should live every day. We made the Kama Sutra to get a little closer to teaching people what they should be doing. Your whole life, your whole existence should be the Kama Sutra. That's the reality of the situation. 98%, 99.9% of the stuff we doing is not stuff we should be doing. And it's not that it's bad. It's about it's distracting. It's about it's not what we came here to do. So I'm going to bring this video to an end because it's getting kind of long. And there's other videos to be dropped, right? I'm not your average priest. It's not your grandma's religion. I might not like you, but I love you. Remember, Jesus Christ was a woman that came to teach Itakwa, the 1080 love frequency, via EYS, embrace your sexuality. Why? Because Onchigaga, sex is the gateway to God or source. Remember, subscribe. We're going to get those subscribers up. Then I'm going to start giving them real information. I'm not going to give up that real information if it's only 50 people watching. You know, so my thing is I need more people to be watching. I need more people because when I know people interested, that's when I really get deep. It's a whole bunch of stuff I dare not say, but I will say it if enough people want to hear it. Show me you want to hear it. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Leave that comment. Let me know you want to hear. Tell me, ask me some questions. Say, yo, can you do a video about this? And speaking of which, I need to do a video about something somebody left in a comment. I'm going to do that next. Boom. If you're on Facebook, we have a follow page, which is the Om Institute. That's AUM Institute without the E at the end. It's Om Institute. AUM space Institute with no E at the end. Then VAM apostrophe MON space PRINC. Princ, Vermont Princ. That's the regular Facebook page. IG, we are feminine _ future and love side. LUVS space SCII. Boom. Then I have my personal page, which is Vermont Princ, spelled the same as Facebook, with no Prince with no E at the end. On YouTube, you know, it's love side. That's LUVS space SCII. So wherever you are, follow, like, subscribe, leave a comment, you know, whatever platform it is. And remember to share this. That's also real important. Share it. That's how we're going to get the numbers up. You watching it is dope. But sharing it there's some people out there that's tired of like just going through the motions of I'm just gonna read the Bible and just do it's not working, but I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna pretend it's working because there's nothing else. Oh, I'm gonna do the tarot cards. It's not changing my life, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Get to the point. There's people out there that really want this information. So let's get this information to people so they can be like, oh, I knew it was something else deeper. And then the numbers will get out there and I can give out this real information. I'm gone, Rahul.